G'day everybody, and welcome back for another Assertive Combat Systems modding stream. I haven't done one of these in a while. I was messing around yesterday and have finally started to integrate the overarching goal into the Assertive mod. So, for those not familiar, the Assertive mod that I've been building for a couple of years now has evolved from just a few cargo ships flying around that would send drones after you if you got too close, to drones, bases, ships, community submitted ships, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces, added behaviors as Lucas has expanded what MES is capable of, all this sort of stuff. And one of the things that was always lacking for me for the NPC mods was a reason to interact with them once you reached that resource utopia that we so often reach in survival games. And the reason that I'm going to give you guys for doing that with Assertive is to get stuff you can't get any other way. And the stuff that you can't get any other way will be found as loot. So on a ship like this, you will probably find something in the cargo. So let's go into the cargo. In here. And you'll find this. A complete ion thruster for small grid. Let's grab that. On other ships, you may find that one or more of the actual block thrusters for a large grid thruster is a special thruster too. And that means you will have to move that thruster from that ship to your own without grinding it down because of the way it's set up. Let's just get rid of that guy that's going to shoot me so I can demonstrate what this thing does. Doop. So if I get myself out of creative mode, and I've got, what have I got? I've got the ion thruster. Okay. So assertive loot. Ion thruster. Or I can use the sci-fi ion thruster. Doesn't matter, you can use either. So now, because I've got this piece in my loot, I can simply place it into the world. And we have our special loot. Now I've got to go back to creative mode because I don't have any jetpack juice. And when I look at this, you'll notice that at the bottom of the list there is a compressor component. This component is specific to the assertive thrusters that you can loot. The assertive thrusters have slightly higher thrust output for slightly lower energy use. So it's 115% thrust output for 90% power use, which makes them a decent amount better than regular thrusters, but you can only loot them. You will never be able to build these thrusters in survival mode. You won't even be able to place the large ones at all, which means you're going to have to steal them. There are ion thrusters, hydrogen thrusters, and atmo thrusters. They are randomly placed in the lootable containers within the ships. So I need to set up all of the old ships to have these new loot profiles. The spaceships will have both ion and hydrogen, and the atmospheric ships will have both atmospheric and hydrogen. So you won't get ion thrusters on the planets, and you won't get atmospheric thrusters in space. So it again encourages you to exist in both spaces and to hunt down the different ships in different spaces. Because if you want to make your ship as efficient, as awesome as you can, you're going to want to get a hold of these thrusters. The other thing that was a drive behind this concept is I like having to take blocks as a whole block from a ship to my own stuff, or from a base to my own stuff, using cranes, using maglocks, whatever. I like that process of building, and for the large grid versions of these things, that is the only way you will get them. Small grid versions like this one, they're small grids, so you can carry them in your inventory. But the large grid ones you can't, you have to steal them. And if they get destroyed, you will have to find another one. The good thing is, though, as you grind these down, they can get all the way to the bottom and they'll still keep that special component. So you, as long as you don't get it completely destroyed, will still be able to use it. Also, thanks so much, Laffers Games, for the subs. Thanks, Tyrone Byrne. Thanks, Duke Skyloafer, for 10 months. And thanks, Ogre197, for 17 months. And thanks, Bilbo. So yeah, this is the big change for the ACS mod. This is the thing that I feel is going to give us a reason to interact with them. One of the reasons I chose thrusters as the object is that all of the ships will have to have thrusters. So it's a simple block to just replace. I didn't want the advantage of these thrusters to be so big that if you didn't have it and you were playing on a server that happened to have ACS active on it, you'd be completely stuffed. But I also wanted to make them good enough that it was kind of worth it. So finding that balance, I think, may need a little bit of work, but I think where it's sitting at should be pretty good. It's enough of a difference without being excessive, I think. The other thing is this compressor component. I need to turn off creative mode. When you grind it down, it becomes scrap. And with it being scrap, you can't make them. So you absolutely have to seal these. In an ideal world, maybe this could be the driver for some sort of what am I thinking? Some sort of trade between players on a server. But honestly, NPCs on servers tend to be a bit awkward anyway. So I'm not convinced that that would actually work. So, with the little update out of the way of what's been happening, I'm going to exit this. And load into one of my saves that have all of the things. Other thing I need to do is grab my mods folder. And open up my build checklist. Because I've added a few things. Wait, did I? No, it didn't save. Dang it! I'm going to have to add those again. I added stuff to this list yesterday, and now I'm going to have to do it again. That's really annoying. How did I not save that? So I'd started making these thruster carrying versions of my ships, but I don't think I'm going to need them. Let's just go have a look. Oh wait, maybe I will. Thanks, Mavelite, for 8 months. Million Capax sounds fun. Yeah, it will be, hopefully. So, that's what I'd been doing. I think I might change up how I'm doing this. So, in the past, I had planned on putting the special thrusters in special positions. Like indicated here. Because I'd thought, oh, let's try and make it look like it's being carried as cargo. But instead, what I think I'm going to do in general is just replace a pair or a single thruster on each of these ships and create a version of that. Now, if you don't want to play with this style of goal in mind, if you don't want to have these thrusters on your server, on your save, I'll have it set up so that you can just not add the mod. But I'm thinking, at least with these ones I've made so far, I will make them notable which the special thruster is. But in general, I might just make it so that it's a regular old thruster, because I never really liked how I did it on this one. I didn't like it how it was built into the storage on the side there. So it was a bit too cramped. I did like... Let's get rid of that. I don't like it. I did like this one. And I did like... this one. What did I do here? Did I even do anything here? No. Goodbye. I think this one's alright. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have vanilla variants that will sometimes carry the small grid versions of the blocks that you can get. Wow. Thank you so much, Lunar Lance, for tier 3 6 months in advance. I hope I'm entertaining, worthy of that for the next 6 months. So, I'm gonna... let's go back to the... Basically, the idea is I'll have a vanilla set of ships. They will carry the special small grid thruster version. Then I will have the special carrier ships that have these grid ones. The grid full block ones, they'll be only able to spawn if you've got the mod active. If you don't have the mod active, the other ones will spawn and nothing will happen to them. You just won't see any effects. Which is going to make it fun for me to let people know, because I guarantee a lot of people aren't going to realize that that's what they need to do, and they'll be like, why aren't I getting the special thrusters? And I'll have to come up with a very clear set of instructions so that doesn't happen. I like this one. Yeah, I kind of do like this one. But I don't want to spend ages making variants of each of the ships just for carrying thrusters. And as I think that takes away a lot of time from everything else that I would rather do, which is make new ships incorporated into the mod. This one I think I'd done in a way that I was happy with, because it's behind those doors. Although I didn't check if this thing can still fly with the doors. So the doors are super heavy. Also, huge thank you to Gruzob for being responsible for making this addition to ACS possible. He did all the scripting and made the mod that I'm using to have these thrusters. There is no way I could have done this on my own. Zero chance whatsoever. Hey, thanks so much for the tier 2 subs, Bevelite. Yeah. So, yeah. In summary, special loot, fancy thruster. I think this is... I'm going to have to test all of these, especially that one, at some point. But that's part of my checklist, is to test all these things. So let's exit this save. The other thing I need to go through on all of my different ships and bases is look at the weaponry. Now, I was testing this yesterday, and my feeling is I don't think I'm going to update a lot of the weaponry. I think I'm going to leave the ones that currently have the interior turrets. I think I'm going to leave the ones that just have Gatlings for the most part. A few of the bigger ships, a few of the tougher ones might get some assault cannon turrets. But in general, I think adding too much of that stuff is going to dramatically change the feel of these ships in a way that kind of doesn't sit right for me. Even though now these little turrets do next to no damage to large grid, which, let's be honest, they didn't really do much damage to them before. they still kill players. They still make it hard to capture the ships, so I think they're still worth using. But say on a ship like this one, I might well replace this Gatling turret with a bigger one. I'm not going to use any custom-made turrets. I'm still sticking to my let's avoid subgrids rule for this, because I feel like the fewer subgrids we have, the better. I'd like to give the players as many subgrids to build with as they want, rather than taking them all away and using them for the NPCs. Because the more physics interactions that we add on these ships, the fewer the player can get away with for any particular rig that they're playing on. Thanks, Zach Squatch. At this stage, I'm not going to put a railgun on anything, and I'm not going to put... I don't plan on putting any significant amount of artillery on any of them either. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm going with this. But what I need to do now is actually go through each of these ships and decide where I want the loot to appear, and also to make a lootable thruster variant of them. Because at the moment, all of these ones are just my original set, and these are just the atmospheric ships. I've got a separate save, as you might have noticed, for the space ones. So there's a fair selection, and I'm also going to go through the bases and make them spawn loot too. I don't think I can use MES to randomly replace a thruster on the ship. Lucas could correct me on that, but I don't think I can. Basically, as I understand it, I don't think the block replacer profiles work that way. That just could be a lack of understanding on my end. What the heck did I just do that just tanked my performance so hard? What just happened? You okay, space engineers? There you go, you're back. That was weird. Right. But yeah, I agree. It would be nice if it was one thruster on the grid that got replaced by one modded block and it was random. The thing that's going to be... The thing that should be possible with the way I do this is... First off, if I'm just replacing a single thruster on these things, then it's not hard for me to make a couple of variants. If I'm making a... So I could easily make like 2 versions of each one. It does make the spawn groups a bit of a hassle, but I think it should be doable. But in general, because we're still, even if you have the mod active, you're still going to get the ones that have no special thrusters on them. It means you can figure out which the special thruster is when you finally catch one, but you're going to have to finally catch one to figure it out. So the amount of ships you're going to have to capture when this is the catalogue of ships that can spawn, I don't really mind if you figure out which thruster on each one is special. And if you're willing to go into the game files and figure that out for yourself, well, you're ruining your game experience for yourself, so why do I want to stop you? Hey Tex, how's it going? Yes, as mentioned, Tex, it's a The special thrusters are lootable thrusters that make you have a reason for interacting with the assertive cargo ships mod. So, all I need to do to make this work with my special thrusters is set the blocks up to have the correct attached name. So I've set up these loot profiles. Lucas helped me through all that yesterday. So I've got proper loot things set up, which means I also now know how to set up loot, which means I can set up custom loot profiles and some random ones that I might put in, like, I might create like a tool storage option. In fact, why don't I do that now? Why don't I write that down somewhere if I don't do it now? I was kind of thinking that some ships could have like a tool storage, and I can use... Yeah, I think I can use the armory. Certain blocks I can use for this, certain blocks I can't. For example, I can't use the little cargo container things. These ones. These freight containers, I can't use them as targets for random loot. But basically, I was thinking of setting up a randomized tool storage one, so that you get welders, drills, grinders, guns, ammo randomly. So I don't need to set it up. So all I'd need to do would be go into the control panel, change the armory to armory tool storage. And anything, then it will randomly get some components. Just something that appeals to me, because then I don't need to worry about setting that part up. And I know that you'll get an interesting, different experience each time. Now these lockers have something. This cargo container. Let's make this one the thruster storage. So if we look at this loot table, count minimum 1, max 1. So you will at most get 1 of any one of these things, and at most get 1 of those things because of the way I've set up the frequencies. Across in this loot profile, what I would like to do is set up minimum blocks down to 0, because I now know this works. So there's a chance you will get no loot. This is like the most cruel version of a loot box. Except it's free, so it's not cruel and horrible. So then this ship will have that special thruster storage. This will randomly sometimes get stuff put in it. In fact, I might get rid of this appended name thing. Actually, I'll leave it in there for now. This is kind of like a troubleshooting thing. If it says loot in it, I know that the script has run. So that's probably all I need to do for this ship to bring it up to speed. I don't think I want to change too much about the turrets, but something I would like to change on most of my ships here is I'd like to change the targeting options. So for this internal turret, that doesn't matter, but for the external ones, I want the easiest ships to just target your guns. So you can limp away once they've shot you, knowing that you're going to be okay. Because they shouldn't, well, they'll still miss and hit your thrusters and stuff. They shouldn't take you down. Whereas the harder ships, they're going to go after your propulsion systems first. Oh yeah, Gruz, that's a good point. I should have asked Lucas if he could set targeting options on spawn. I wonder if you could do that, because then I could have the easy spawns, the ones that I've set up as easy, to spawn taking out just your guns, and then the medium and hard can take out your thrusters as primary. Does this have a big gun? It doesn't. It's just got lots and lots of little guns. Thing is, even with these little guys, I reckon there's a decent chance they'll take out a few of your guns. And more than a few. If you're not careful. They do not account for drop on planets. That's still a vanilla keen issue, and there is nothing I can do about that. Never. I'm pretty sure actually, I haven't tested whether the options are exclusive. I kind of assumed from the way that the options were talked about, particularly the weapons ones with the weapon targeting, that... Yeah. I thought that they did kind of just target your weapon systems when you selected that. Power systems obviously is going to be an issue because, well, they're usually buried. But I think once the weapon's gone... Yeah, and Dragon PC 75 is saying the same. I'm pretty sure it does stop. TFE's just checked through what Lucas has documented about... about MES, and apparently we cannot manipulate targeting profiles yet. So if I approach the pod without a weapon, I can just dock to the hull and grind in. Oh, Nev! Dang it. You're right. Poop. Well, that... I mean, there is a separate issue you have to deal with, given this is assertive combat systems. This ship's not the only one you deal with. And the other one will shoot you through this ship you're trying to capture to get at you. That being the drones. And you'll get a drone spawn as you approach. You'll get more as you start to attack the grid. And grinding constitutes attacking. Grinding also gets its own special treatment. So is it an issue? Is it actually a problem? Like, if you're willing to sneak in there under the guise of, I'm not dangerous, and hope that you can get in there, get out before you need your own guns to take down the drones? And I'm quite okay with that being a co-op tactic. Like, one person goes in unarmed, another person stays back and takes out the drones, because that's actually complex tactics. Which is rewarding cooperative play. And again, I don't think I'm upset about that. Huh. Huh. Yes, this mod is in... Yes, this mod is in Survival Impossible. Yes, I will try and capture cargo ships eventually, but you kind of need two people to take advantage of these tactics. So, imagine this. You're flying toward this ship in an unarmed ship. When you get to between 2 kilometers and 1.5 k's, a drone spawns. That drone is now beelining straight for you. You are in an unarmed ship. You now have about 30 to 45 seconds to get in, capture this ship, capture some guns on this ship, and shoot back at that drone before it starts to destroy both your passive ship and the cargo ship you're trying to steal. So really the only way I can see that working is if you have someone to help. And that someone is going to have to help by taking out the drones without getting shot down by the guns on this ship while doing so. So, yeah. I'm glad you brought that up, Nev, but I don't think it's going to be a problem. And yeah, Laney, I think the incomplete guns would count as valid targets, but I'm honestly not sure. Yeah, Nev, when you first said it, I'd forgotten about the drones too. But it was a very valid point to bring up. This is why I like doing working on this mod with an audience, because it makes me think about a lot more gameplay elements that aren't immediately apparent to me often. When you get really close to a project, it's really easy to miss exploits like that, or potential exploits. But if you know that an exploit is possible, and you decide that it's an acceptable one, then there's no issue. It's only when you don't know the one's there and then it becomes a surprise and you're like, oh, whoops. Fortunately, the whole ACS principle of having the drones come after you negates a lot of cheesy tactics. Especially because the drones are not afraid of friendly fire. They will shoot through a friendly grid to get to you. And yes, the more reasons I have to not just go and send in Capac as a decoy, the better. Although, I would love to try and explain to him my logic behind sending him in unarmed into an enemy ship. And just how he might deal with it. Oh, I just thought of a tactic that could work in Survival Impossible. In a single-player scenario. So, one of the issues that you often have trying to get loot from these big ships is once you shoot them enough to take out their guns, they go down. And they go down hard and tend to explode. You can send in an unarmed parachute drone to lock onto the side, deploy its chutes, and slow the thing down, start bringing it down with that, while you take out the drones in your own controlled ship. Because that would allow you to get a lot more loot out of it, and would be a potential single-player ploy. Also, I think I might set, like, 1 or 2 guns on these things to not target weapons first. Although currently with the weapon drop, they don't really target weapons, they just kind of hit stuff. Don't like capturing rival AI ships because when you destroy the remote, they always keep overrides on thrusters and gyros and the ship goes totally nuts. I kind of like that. It adds an element of terror. I like when you capture a ship and you finally destroy the remote control, it then just, whatever it was doing at the time, it keeps on doing. Because Lucas is actually setting in menu overrides on stuff to control things. I really like that because it means you get that whole spiraling out of control feel on board the ship. And for me, it adds a bit of excitement, but I can totally understand why if you're capturing a lot of them, that might get tiresome. Yeah, exactly, Tex. The parachute drone ploy would slow down the ship allowing you more time, would also prevent the ship from accelerating as effectively. Basically, it would be a useful thing to do regardless of however else you're going to assault the ship. The trouble is you'd have to hope that that parachute drone survives the drone that's going to get spawned. Oh, Nev, the ones that spin as the remote control dies, that can actually be a modder's own setting. Because there are behaviors you can trigger on remote control block death. I have no idea if small warheads count as weapons as per the mod. I did that one, I need to do this one. Or loot. I don't know why they're putting it in the lockers, but just so it's different to the other one. Actually, maybe I'll call this... Yeah, I'll call it tool storage. Where did I put the armory? I should make a setup for armory blocks that's weapon storage. Right. Make another loot profile for weapon storage. Just use really uncreative names like that so it's really easy to remember what does what. I'm suspicious that a warhead would count as a weapon. But, yeah, like with the number of things that there are available, it's easy that something like that might have been missed. I'm really torn about what to do with these targeting weapons things now. It seemed like a really good idea yesterday. Now it seems a bit middling. Uncertain. I don't know. Has this really only got 2 guns? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh. Kind of forgot how nice I was on some of these. Taking out the antenna on these ships will actually do nothing. The antenna is there purely for letting you know that the ship exists. That's it. Has no other function. Nope, the antenna is not needed to call in the drones. I removed that requirement some time ago because the mod functions better without it. And soon the antenna won't even be required for them to be able to talk to you. There were a few reasons for that, but the main one being that I don't want to have to put an antenna on every single ship. You know what? This one's not getting it. This one's not getting loot. It's a medical ship. Why would it be carrying a fancy thruster? It can have a fancy thruster, but it's not going to carry one. All the ships will have a beacon or something like that to let you, as the player, know where they are. Because if I didn't give you beacons to find these, you would miss so many things, and it'd just be a pain. It wouldn't be fun. I think it'd be annoying. And I'd rather not be annoying with these things. Yeah, in Atmo you will sometimes spot things without a signal, but in general you often still won't. So I think on balance, giving everything a signal is better. There are some things once your threat level gets up to a higher level, that might have shorter range signals, so you only see them late. But I tried that a while back where some hostile things only got signals late, and basically people didn't detect them at all. People couldn't, like, you just didn't notice that the ships were even there, and you just got attacked out of the blue. And I don't... It seemed like a fun mechanic at the time, but in the end, I don't think it was. I think it was a bit of a broken mechanic. So I that's why I'm against that idea now. I think I played with it myself like that for a while, and it was anti-fun. It wasn't challenging, it just wasn't fun. Yeah, Yarlin, that's not a bad idea. Having like some ships that run silent, that are more black market, and they're ones that have extra loot in them, so you have to pay more attention to spot them. The thing is, I genuinely think, apart from the most observant players, no one will ever see them. And so however much work you put into a mechanic like that, no one would see it. No one would do anything with it. Hey, D. The only way... So, now that the antenna is not required for spawning the drones, the way to stop it spawning drones is get rid of this. You have to get rid of the remote control block. If the remote control block is either destroyed or unpowered, then the drones will stop. But until then, you are at risk of further reinforcements being called in. There was a setup I did a while back that was pure evil. Not intentionally so, but ended up being pure evil. I had actually set up a cascading drone spawn. What I mean by that is the drones could call in their own drones to help them for reinforcements. So as you destroyed drones, you'd get more drones and then get more drones. And so it was this cascading, just wave after wave of drone coming after you. It was not a good idea. It was a terrible idea that broke a lot of the gameplay. Because it just made it... It made it so that you would never go after these ships because it just was too hard. And that's one of the other things with this. It's like, if I make any of these too difficult, how is this new loot ever going to make it worthwhile? Good luck ever capturing that intact. Oy. Travelonic, there is no... In the version that I am currently working on of the assertive mod, the Assert Corporation will not attack you until you've attacked it. assuming that part of what I set up still works. Basically, when you start the game, you will have a certain amount of standing with assert. And that standing is enough that they are hostile to you, but not enough that it'll trigger the drone spawns and things like that. If you get within the trigger ranges, then those spawns will... like, if you then attack them or shoot down enough drones that over time you end up with that faction standing low enough, then they'll go full angry anytime you come near them. But it is less hostile by default. But in general, even the public version of the kind of rival AI version of the mod, it is not particularly hostile. It's certainly not hostile in comparison to things like Reavers and Corrupt. The level of hostility you get from this mod is fairly tame. And intentionally so. I didn't want it to be especially aggressive. That's why it's assertive, not aggressive. Okay. Let's grab you onto weapons duty. As you can see, I am intentionally missing some of the turrets and doing some of them on weapons, some of them not. Nev, I've thought about the merge blocked cargo and dropping it and doing that sort of stuff. Building ships around that design gets really cumbersome and tends to end up with a lot of the same sorts of designs, which ends up being boring. So yeah, that's why I haven't done that style of build in general. There are a couple that have that, but it's really hard to make that an interesting design style, especially in large grid. It's just too big. I don't think I got up to your ships, DE, yet. Like, that's how far I am behind on these things. The last ships that I, come on, type, Splitsy. The last ships that I added to ACS from the ones that were submitted are, like, now 2 years old? I think it's 2 years on from their submission, because it's just, there are so many of them, and I arguably spend too long bringing each one into the common style. Aries, I've thought about paid clone respawns a few times with regard to Space Engineers. In general, I don't think it's a good idea. I don't think the idea of having players have to have a certain amount of resources available in order to respawn is a good mechanic, because it can deathlock you. As in, you would have to go to a respawn and then deal with that. And I think for a certain player, that would be fun. But for most players, that would be bad. Which is my way of saying, I think nearly everyone I play with would hate it. I might like it for a short amount of time, but in the end it'd probably be meaningless because I'd just have those resources stacked up next to it and I'd be able to accumulate. So I'd have so many respawns it'd be like, this doesn't matter anymore. It's a real tough thing with Space Engineers, the clone value and devalue. It just doesn't... It just doesn't seem to work for Space Engineers. I think the better things that we could focus our efforts on is how to make... how to make you care about a clone, or how to make you not use your clones as bullet sponges. Having the ability to spawn with better tools with materials, yeah, that could actually be kind of cool. So if there's platinum available, or if there's cobalt available, or if there's silver available, then you get that tier of tool. That's kind of a cool concept, because that's like it's kind of the difference between telling the player you're punishing them and telling the player there's a reward if they do this thing. Like, I think this was in a comment on one of my Icarus streams the other day. So it's the difference between... I think this one was actually by Blakey. It's the difference between punishing a player when they die by giving them death debuffs versus rewarding a player for surviving for a long time by giving them long life experience buffs. They're effectively doing the same thing, but the perception from the player's end is very different. So, say for example, you could come up with a mod in Space Engineers that the longer your clone is alive, the less energy it uses from its suit, the less O2 you consume, the less hydrogen you use while flying around, the quicker your jetpack stops, that sort of thing. If those sorts of things could gradually ramp up over long periods of time, then your clone becomes really valuable to you, because if you've had a clone that's been alive for 10 hours, that clone's going to be super cloned. And then when it gets killed, you're going to be like, no, I lost it! But you're not going to be angry at the death, you're going to be angry at yourself, because you're not getting punished. Because in your mind, you've been rewarded for keeping that clone alive, not punished for letting it die. And it's very much about how you phrase these things and how you display these things that impacts the player's perception of what's going on. Yeah, it's funny, Mustiana, the WoW example is exactly what came up when I was talking about this. Might have to do some armor remodeling around this to make this work. Because there are block shapes that were not available back then. I think that works. Jax, did you forget just how tough the Shasqui was? Or the Shasqui? I didn't replace many of these. I haven't put autocannons on it. Oh, wow. I just noticed... I totally didn't actually see these ones on the side. How did I not... Did it... Were they there? I'm so confused. Were they actually... Were they turrets before the autocannons? Oh, man. I mean, let's be honest, all of its heavy firepower is attached to a bomb. So, maybe this is okay? And it does give you a relatively safe angle of attack if you come from below. Oh yeah, that's right. We did stick a railgun to one of these. I even checked what components it had. So, Jexaman, Jex is one of my mods, as in moderators, and he made all of these really cool military-esque pink and blue ships. He redesigned a bunch of them for use in the Escape from Purgatory finale and came up with a new paint scheme. And so he came back into all these worlds and updated them all. And when we were doing that, we were messing around with different weapons and we stuck this down here. I like it, but I'm not sure I was meaning to leave it. Yeah, it's a lot of resources. But it is only gold. The Shasky could actually use it. I think we need two versions of this. I think we need one with and one without. What does the artillery cannon have in it? Oh yeah, artillery's a bit more reasonable. Do I have any artillery shells on me? No. Artillery shells. Yeah, there we go. It only carries 3 shells. That's fine. It looks pathetic. It looks so tiny. Oh dear. I mean, it looks tiny, but I think we all know if that thing hits you, it's still gonna hurt. What, do you guys want me to do this? It's cold outside, there's no kind of atmosphere. So, I'm gonna have to come up with special behavior for these now. Great. Great! So many things to think about. Got a to-do list somewhere. Where is it? ACS to-do list. Where is it? Assertive to-do list. I need special hunter behavior for Jex ships. The reason I specifically chose these ships to be the big nasties is there's a cohesive style between all of them. Jax has submitted quite a few that have that cohesive style, and to me, I've always imagined them as the assertive military arm. They are there to come and beat you up when you beat up the other assertive ships. How short have I got the day length on this thing? Yeah, as in, it would be something similar to Reaver behavior. That would be basically what I'd be copying. Alright, we need loot. Loot, loot, loot. Oh, that's right, you get in underneath. What the? How'd that end up there? It's a lot of ammo. It's unusual for me to give that much up. I think it was reasonable on the size of this ship. And the level of aggression. No, there is no way to improve relationships with NPC factions, except for the ones that Keen created. Hey, thanks Eluruob. Eluruob. Man, you'd think after this much time I'd be able to say your name more quickly. I like having weak spots in my builds, that's why the big hydrogen tank that's exposed is nice. Plus, these were all designed before they became explosive. Do. Where we go? I actually might fiddle with this one and change where I put that. Let's not have that in a locker. There we go. I don't know which one that is, but it's somewhere on the ship. And I need to make this a variant, have a name. 2. So I know I'll forget to do that at some point. TFE, I'm pretty sure I've actually got... Oh, did I... I thought I'd managed to get my factions starting at 700 and minus 750, but that was through a mod that Lucas made. I don't know... Sort of, it's scripted to do that. the friendly NPC thing is something that people smarter than me will work on and deal with. But there are issues with it because you can't make NPC factions friendly with each other, and it all just gets... It's all just hard. It's all too hard for me. Yeah, every NPC is by default aggressive to each other. It's... I don't know if it's changed recently, but it's a frustration that Lucas has expressed to me before. EEM creates its own faction system. It doesn't use the vanilla one. So it's a whole separate kettle of fish again. Hey, thanks Shadow Wolf for 8 months. Yeah, tanks are a bit... The explosive tanks thing is sometimes fun, but I'm not sure it's... I'm not so sure how I feel about it overall. Because now you have to slather them with armor to have any hope of your ship surviving something intact. The funny thing is, yeah, I'm totally with you, Eisen. I love watching Assert Corrupt Reavers shooting each other. And the funny thing is, the outcome is not consistent. I've seen a guppy take down a large grid Reaver before. Because of the helper drones that the assertive ships call in. And when a little ship just through random chance happens to call in 3 drones instead of 1 to defend it, those 3 drones will tear through the Reaver. And it's fascinating watching the interactions because it's not a foregone conclusion, and that's kind of cool. It means there's interest in watching how it plays out. I feel like this one has to get this treatment. These are just begging for it. Whoops, wrong way around. I've probably not put ammo in some of these things, which is going to be really annoying because I'm going to have to go back and check through everything on all of my ships. Again. But it's been kind of good looking back at all these ships to remember what's what on all of them and try and get an idea of what I should be doing. Can it still shoot forwards now? Maybe not. Maybe not. That's alright. What I will do is... attempt to add that up there, but I might just go with a pair of these. Gotta make sure idle movement is off. Also, these gats underneath will fire forwards. But I like things with limited firing lines. It adds a degree of tactic to how you're going to approach things. Not sure why this company made this ship to be so well defended from attack from above, but whatever. Here's the system is split. There we go. Yeah, no death from above on this ship. I'm not going to use custom turrets. I mentioned earlier, I don't like putting subgrids on these things just because it's an increased number of physics interactions that'll potentially over time dramatically increase the performance hit of having the mod active. So one of the reasons I've always targeted ships of under a specific size for ACS is because I want people to be able to play with this even if they don't have the beefiest rig to play it on. Drop Dead Fred, I don't know what the inspiration is from a lot of these builds, because they weren't mine. I have just updated and decorated all of the ships to be a vaguely consistent style. That is... so that there's some cohesion between all of the designs, even though they look so different from the outside. And that was the idea of getting people to submit them, because if I kept designing them all myself, I would rapidly struggle to come up with new ways of designing the ships to make them look interesting. Why are all these turrets... why do all of them have idle movement on? I've sworn I turned that off for everything. Yeah, Jex, these open hangars are probably open because the hangar doors are heavy and because they use a lot of PCU, and the submission rules for this were that you must stay under 4,000 PCU. And I just realized something dumb I've been doing. All of the ships with large cargoes and multiple of them should have thruster storage in the name of all of the cargo blocks. Because then it'll randomize which one gets the goodies. I don't need to have it just on one, I can have it on several. Got that aspect. Do. Adding it to all of them. So yeah, this morning was me just kind of... is a lot of me just kind of getting back into the right headspace for making the mod. I feel like each time I've taken a break and each time I've come back, I have genuinely gotten closer to this being in a releasable state. Because for me, I wanted it to have at least 50 ships, which it does now. I wanted it to have a few interesting behaviors, but mostly consistent behaviors across the ship. I wanted it to have difficulty settings. I wanted it to have all the drones. I'm suspicious some of these ships have drifted into each other. The jetpack inhibitor. I don't think I've added it. Can't remember whether I talked about adding it or not. Does anyone remember? Eisen, you're here for most of these. Do you remember if I said anything? I can't honestly remember where I came down on that one. Because I mean, the jetpack inhibitors, I think, are more... I kind of came up with my own way around the jetpack inhibitors, which was having these spawn in fighter escorts. So, because of the fighter escort, the jetpack approach of taking over the ship is actually quite difficult to do without taking massive damage. Because the moment you get inside one of these ships, those drones are going to pummel the ship to try and get to you. So I'm not sure they're needed. I could certainly be wrong on that, but I'm not sure they're needed. Gruz, yes. I have considered doing asteroid bases for ACS. The last time I asked Lucas about what I would need to do in order to make that work, it was super complex, and I hadn't even gotten the rest of the mod working, so I was like, okay, that idea's on the back burner for a while. I think I will do other things first. But yes, I would like to have asteroid bases, lunar bases, planetary bases, all of the things I would like to have included as part of ACS. So, yeah, drill inhibitors for bases, 100% are a thing, and are already in this version of the mod, I'm pretty sure. The one I'm working on, that is. The jetpack inhibitors, though, I don't think are needed. And I definitely am in two minds about whether I should be the one limiting you from using your jetpack. I know I feel it's cheesy, and I hate it when Capac does it, for the most part. But if you're playing on your own, I like that they're an option. I don't know if they're my solution to it. Which is a weird thing for me to say, because I was totally 100% yes! Awesome, Lucas, I'm so glad you did this when he first came out with it. But I'm not as confident on that now. I mean, if it was me doing jetpack inhibitors on these, I'd probably, if I could manipulate the ranges, what I would probably do is have it just instantly turn off your jetpack 50 meters from it. Because get to here, you're flying full speed, it switches off your jetpack, splat. So, yeah. Oh wait, was I thinking of something else that wasn't manipulable, TFA? So yeah, do you know what I'd really like? I'd really like it if, when you attacked a ship and you hacked a terminal block, that when you went into the terminal, all you saw was the hacked block and nothing else. That's what I would really like. I want you to not know when you've taken all the turrets on the ship. I want you to not know when you've taken all the I want you to not know. So one of the things I'm planning on doing before... One of the things I want to do before I release the mod, once I've made sure all of the grids are exactly right, is go through and rename every single turret on the ship to something random. Because that way, searching through will have to be searching through for an icon. You will have to look through this list and make sure you don't miss the icons in a jumbled list of icons. Basically, what I would want to do is rename turrets to be thrusters, rename turrets to be desks, rename turrets to be batteries, rename turrets to be armories. And I think that will cause enough of the people who like to hack in and just see it all to lose a bit of that advantage. Why not just rename everything to something random? I think, actually, that's not a bad idea. Yeah. Dravolonic, that's a good idea. Like, if you renamed every single block on the ship to have a random prefix number on it. So instead of this being interior turret 6, it'd be 12 space interior turret 6. That way all the names are still sensible for people to go through and rename them with a script later. But would mess with the turret hunters. Can you search through by name, Nev, when you don't own the ship? Oh, you can, so I would need to remove turret. So anything with turret in it would have to be renamed to a different block. Yeah, anything with turret or warhead would have to be renamed to a different block. Did I end up actually doing either of these? Or did I just talk and get distracted and start looking at things? Did that one. Did I do any lockers? I did not. Bob's epic gun, John's pew pew device, Mark's bullet thrower, etc. Actually, that could kind of be fun. But yeah, I think I will at least do that for some of the turrets on some of the ships, so people would have to be careful. Oh, there are no lockers or anything on this thing. How unlike me. It's an armory though. Oh no, hiccups. That's not good. That's gonna get annoying. Shady, if you made a script that could rename and replace turret or warhead with random other block names, I would use it. And that would be awesome. Don't feel any pressure to do it though. But it would be awesome. You know what I'm trying to say. Also, I feel like I want to do this. Feel free to DM me that on Discord if you make that script. Why not? What's the harm? Oh, whoops, wrong shells. Zeres, I'm surprised that while you were living in Australia, you managed to catch me live. I kind of streamed during peak business hours for Australia, which is awkward. Yeah, Paris would be rough with the times I'm often live. Could you plug a script into the mod that rename weapons by default? Possibly? What I was thinking of doing was just what I do to test how effective these ships are within a specific gravitational strength, which is I slap a programmable block on here, I run the script, I get the output, I delete the PB and move on. So the rename script, I'd probably just do the same. That wouldn't be too much of a hassle for me, I think. Oh, Astuga, I've already got a script that adds a prefix to every block on the ship. I'll hook into that. Ah. So you've kind of already got the logic set up for the script. Oh, Shady, you might not need to do anything. I don't know. I don't know. This is why I don't like asking people to do stuff on stream, because it's... Then 3 people do the thing, and then I don't know which one I'm best off using, and then it's all just awkward. especially don't like it when it ends up being some massive project. I'm like, ooh, whoops. That's a lot more work than I expected it to be. I really don't want people spending that much time on something. Especially when it's something that I'm not sure I'm actually going to use. Because there are plenty of times when I've been like, oh, that'd be a cool concept. And I'll be like, and then afterwards I'm like, actually, not sure it would be. I'm probably not going to end up using that. And then 3 people send me a message with it done. I'm like, eek. Shouldn't have said anything. I shouldn't have said anything. Are there any cargo containers on this thing? There are not. Alright, one of these is going to have to get thruster storaged. Huh, how far have I gone? Better than I thought I would have. Especially with the number of distractions I normally have. Yeah, Graz, when I saw the troubles you were having with multiplayer with this thruster mod, I definitely had more than a slight twinge of guilt over asking you to do it. Oh yeah, I'm really happy with how the Fresh Maker turned out. Thanks, Drop Dead Fred. It was an interesting design to adapt to the more spaceshipy design style of the rest of these. Like, to keep that looks like it could be a Earth waterbound ship thing intact, but still make it look like a spaceship. Because I'm not particularly fond of gimmicky, looks like a regular water ship, or looks like a this sort of ship build style. Cargo. Oh, that doesn't feel pleasant. I gotta start remembering to avoid that. I don't think there's anywhere to put thrusters on this, so I don't think I've got lockers anywhere. And I don't really have room for them. Maybe there, actually. Yeah. That works. So, basically what you're learning about ACS here is make sure you look through all the lockers. You may find something fancy. Duke Skyloafer, there kind of isn't an ACS lore, so to speak. And that's kind of by design. I figured any story I tried to come up with would have so many plot holes that I'd just let people come up with their own concepts to allow themselves to enjoy what's there. Because your own imagination is going to fill more plot holes that you're going to miss. Well, it's going to leave plot holes, but they're going to be plot holes that you don't see yourself, so it's fine. Every locker has a chance to get a side photo of Capac. Signed by who, though? So you know Capac would probably, because it's such a Capac thing to do, provide signed photos of himself, but get them signed by some random person. Signed by Zoc. We have cargo containers on here, don't we? We have a cargo container. Yeah, but like Bart signing Krusty the Clown, except Bart would sign the Krusty the Clown pictures as himself in this example. How many more have I got to do? A few. But I'm more than halfway. Annoyingly... Alright, let's just quickly fix this up. So... update my build checklist, because I stupidly didn't save it yesterday for some reason. Create... tool... weapon... thruster... storage... labeled... double? Labeled... locks. Then... also want to change some turret targeting settings. And that's all I can think of right now. I'm going to save it this time. Right now. Oh, adjust grav gens. Thank you, 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 thank you. Adjust grav gens. I'm in the wrong save for that because I'm looking at the Atmo ships, so none of them have grav gens. And cargo, yeah. Whoopsie daisy. That's not what I want. I thought my thruster storage was still in there. Oops. Copy. Do we have any lockers? We do have armory lockers. Chesky does not have a grav gen. I am fairly confident. See? No artificial gravity. I removed grav gens from every Atmo ship. Ow. Yeah, exactly, Jax. It is capable of spaceflight, but it's not used for spaceflight. Oh man, I remember designing this thing. That was a unique challenge. Thank you, Zero. For 4 months. I kind of want to do something different with this. Something feels off. Too much blue. Ooh. I just had an idea. Oh wait, there's no little corner piece, is there? Nerds. Thinking something like that might add a bit of interest to it. As I get slightly distracted here. Ooh. Does that look better? Yeah, it does. I like what we can do with the plates in creating looks like this that were just totally impossible without them. So the reason gravgens are not on any of the cargo ships that go in atmosphere is because of the resources that they have in them. The fact that almost all of these will be spawning in planets where the gravgens do nothing because there's more than 0.5 G of natural gravity. And because I often play in a style where finding silver on a planet is not a thing you can do, so I didn't want to be giving myself silver in situations where I shouldn't have it. So that's where the logic of that came from. It definitely looks better with a bit more color variation in this section. There's too much blue. As I very much get distracted from what I was doing to do something that I wasn't intending to do today, but did anyway. Because this is what always happens. I come through these things and I'm like, oh, I could do that better now. I know how to do that better now. Whoa, drop dead Fred. Thanks so much for the 2,000 bits. Yeah, Black Shadow Sneaky stream today. I am actually going to have to wrap this stream up very soon. I have an appointment to get to. That means I'm going... Don't have too much longer, but I definitely wanted to fiddle with this now that I saw it. I think that's improved the ship. Yeah. Definitely better with less blue. The other thing is, I should probably get rid of this antenna on this ship at some point. Because we don't need the antenna anymore. Do we have cargo aboard this thing? Nope. We have lockers. We have a locker. Alright. Oops. Not thruster component. Yeah. Color the antenna. Hmm. Ooh. Shiny, shiny badge dropped dead. There's a very bright badge on the dark skin of Twitch. Cool, so how many more have I got to do? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 more Atmo ships to go. Which isn't too bad. I'm gonna be doing multiple little let's go have a look at all the old ships again and see if there are any things we want to fix up sort of adjustments. What I'm thinking of doing is hopefully getting... I've said this so many times, and I keep getting tiny little steps closer to it and then getting distracted by aesthetics. What I want to do is get to that point where the mod is feature locked for a bit, where I've added extra... where I'm only adding extra ships. So we have the behavior lockdown. I'm happy with it. I'm pretty sure I'm happy with the behavior as it stands. The next thing I need to set up is make sure I've got easy, medium, hard versions of the spawns. And to do that, I need to get together some tougher drone spawns. So there are a few ways that I've made the drone spawns tougher when they come along. One is by having bigger drones with more guns. The other is by having bigger drones. Like, for the highest level of difficulty, where you've got the highest threat score, I want the ships that get called in to help to be ships like the Shasky over here. And it will drop in with a complement of drones around it. So instead of you having to deal with a drone that's going to protect you sometimes, not all the time on the hardest difficulty, but just sometimes, you'll get this. And you'll get smashed, because this will have a drone AI. This will not come in with a cargo ship AI or passive. It will come in hunting you down. Jex has also made some fairly capable drones in large grid, which I want to use for that purpose as well. But that's kind of the escalating difficulty, is what happens with the drones. The escalating difficulty is not the ships in front of you. You should be able to pick that yourself, because you'll be able to decide which one you want to attack. And I think that's a good way for it to be, because player control over difficulty, I think, is beneficial. But after a certain point, when you've clearly taken so many assert ships, or you're clearly such a big threat in what you've built up, I want there to be that escalation. I want there to be that big confrontations, that feeling of, if I can win this battle, I've won something tough. And that'll be those battles where sometimes it's not just one patrol car that shows up. It's the entire police force. It's the entire battalion, whichever way you want to look at it. For those familiar with EVE Online, it's kind of like, at the moment, the response is sort of like... Oh, actually, was it like that when I finished? Maybe it wasn't. But yeah. Minimal response right through to overwhelming, you're gonna die response. Yeah, Nev, that's kind of the idea. I'd like to do, once this mod is ready, another series, just me and Capac. Just the two of us, mucking around, building stuff, capturing things, trying to not get killed. And I think I think when the mod is ready, it'll really provide a lot more interest than the original, a lot more interesting interactions than the original assertive bases did in Survival Unlikely. That would be Splitsy and Capac versus Assert, not Splitsy versus Capac and Assert. Though I've got some other plans of what I can do for the assertive balance testing and stuff in the future, which I'll like. I'm looking forward to trying out. One will be actually just playing myself on stream, just on my own, to see how it feels. The other might be involving extra people in it. Hey, thanks so much, Dravelonic. Thank you very much for the cheer. DE, I don't think you'll ever see a Capac versus Splitsy series. We don't enjoy playing against each other. We've played so many games together over the last 25 years, we usually know who's going to win or lose, and that makes it not fun for either of us. It's just genuinely not fun for us. We would much rather be on the same team making fun of each other. Because that's what friends do. Like every game we play, we much prefer playing cooperatively against a difficult AI/NPC. No. I don't want to armor up the hydro tanks. I want them to be a potential explosion. So yeah, I will be back tomorrow with another stream. I haven't decided whether I'm going to do more of this or whether I'll do more of my chill survival series. I'm leaning towards my chill survival thing because I kind of want to see what I can do with that rover. But yeah, I'll be back probably here on Twitch with that tomorrow morning. So there's all that and plenty more to come. And I will see you then. Thanks for coming, everybody.